God showed me her, I was still walking according to my preference. I liked light-skinned, long hair, petite models, all that crazy nonsense. I like what I like.
Although it's called Dear Future Wifey, it is a humiliation ritual for Christian women. Men jump on here boldly and with their whole chest talk about how they settled for their wives. What he has never featured on his podcast is a woman giving an hour-long interview about the many ways she dogged her husband out, but how God came in, changed her heart, and they have a beautiful love story. It's struggle love with Bible verses attached to it. It glorifies being a wife over dignity, self-respect. It makes it seem like if you could pray hard enough, you'll get you a man. Even a man who didn't initially want you. Men have always tried to get women to settle. Now you're trying to say God wants us to settle too? Not the same God that said he would give us the desires of our heart. Most of us desire a man who's initially attracted to us, who wants us initially, who doesn't have to be prayed into loving us. You never tell men to endure mistreatment by a woman who didn't want them. You never tell them to pray and pray that God will change their heart and their mind. You never do that to men, but you always do it to women.
We know that the men on this panel, the men on this panel, I know I've seen Bruiser's wife, so I'm sure she's a woman he desires, as well as he can marry the person he desires. So I've never seen everybody else's wife, but and I would assume that you guys married the. I think Trev. I heard Trev talk about his wife, and he said that he was attracted to his wife. He desired his wife, if I'm not mistaken. So I know it's not right. You guys, but y'all know it's men out there that don't desire their wives.
Well, yeah. I would assume that initially they did. There could have been some things that happened, or they let themselves go. Maybe they talk to them recklessly, or maybe they just do things differently. But initially, I couldn't see a person actually marrying a person and saying I do for like ever and not being attracted to them. Like that's that would be so crazy.
The only way I would ever see a situation like that is if the dude did it out of straight up obligation. He got her pregnant and he basically shotgun wedding himself. Like I don't see a dude that just humbug marry a woman that he's not attracted to. Oh man, I'm usually my type is red bones with fat asses, but I married a white chick with no ass at all. I really don't like the way she look. I just decided to marry her anyway. That ain't what men do.
Do you think that that's a new? So this is important too, because I do notice that the people who are on Dear Future Wifey are older couples who've been together for an extended amount of time. So they didn't have social media love where you had all these options. You were able to people travel more. You really pretty much dated the people who were in your vicinity, right? So do you think that has a lot to do with that? You think that men have different dating options? Are they approaching love quite differently than they did in the past, basically?
Well, I
think the approach is different. If I'm not mistaken, that dude was an athlete, right, Shane? Before wasn't he an athlete?
Who the guy on the panel?
Yeah.
I didn't see the whole thing. I just saw that clip.
I saw a little bit of that story. If I'm not mistaken, he was like an athlete. So from what I gather, he had those options, right? He had the opportunity to have those red bones, and I would compare it similar to how females are attracted to the bad boy and stuff initially, but as you grow, it could have been in his case getting closer to God that would have changed his perspective and let him understand that there are more things important than vanity, right? So we could look at it as negative, but in all honesty, I don't think that's what happened. I think he realized that there were things that he found more important that would be wife qualities versus just because looks are going to fade anyway. So you kind of have to want to live with the person. You know what I'm saying? So I think that he began to realize that over time that he really has grown to love that person.
You know what it is then, Trev? Then actually, okay, you're absolutely right. That actually does happen. I'm kind of wrong on that. Men he may have genuinely been just stating that what he once was attracted to was always a problem. It always tend to lead to problems. So then when he found a woman that she exuded more qualities than just her looks, he didn't mean that in a way of like saying that he's absolutely unattracted to his woman. But I will say this though. God damn it, man. Why the hell do we talk about shits like this type of shit all the time where like you just can't go out there and embarrass your wife like that, bro. That's embarrassing. You don't say that shit out loud, bro. Like, even if that is the truth, like, why would you go out there and tell the world, man, I wasn't really attracted to my wife. I'm used to red bones for fat asses, and my wife don't look nothing like that. Like, you ain't supposed to do that, man.
But to be fair, I watched that show, and the wives have been on there saying the same thing, that I initially wasn't attracted to my husband. I wouldn't even give him the time of day at first, but he kept pursuing me, and then I eventually ended up, like him. So that has been said too. It's not, just the men.
And that's on that show.
I think it's different though, Mistaken. I think it's different. And let me tell you why it's different. It's because women, we don't necessarily, the desire is not what motivates women, right? I think that's more of a manly thing because there's a lot of women who with men that they're not necessarily attracted, but they love them. You know what I'm saying? We don't go after the same things men go after. Does that make sense?
But no, not based on what she was saying. She was saying, why is it all the time that men are on these shows talking about how that's not normally the type of man woman I would marry.
Mm-hmm.
But I ended up marrying her. What I'm saying is, to be fair, women do the same.
Do that. Actually, they do it a lot on TikTok.
So they down their husbands. Yeah, I get it. Okay, I got it. Yeah.
It's basically, y'all remember when we was talking about the whole Travis Hunter thing and how she was in front of the camera talking about something. Initially, I wouldn't even give him the time. He was in my DMs.
Oh yeah, she was trash.
Sometimes, man, like let this be a lesson to y'all. This is that whole when keeping it real goes wrong. Some shit you don't have to tell nobody.
Nobody has to know.
Nobody has to know about that, especially if you marry this person and you with them. There was a story that I heard where the wife, it was a TikTok story, and the husband and the wife was in a room, and the husband was giving one of his guy friends advice on marriage or whatnot, and the wife was like, "Don't take no advice from him. He don't know what he's talking about." He said, "Well, I was able to pull you," and then, like, tongue in cheek, she was like, "Yeah, but at that time I was desperate and I really needed somebody to yada yada yada." And 3 weeks went by where he wouldn't say anything to her. He didn't even say anything, and she was trying to appeal to him and make his favorite meals and was trying to fuck him on a regular and all this other shit. He wasn't going, and eventually came to it, was like, "We need to talk. I can't be with you." Like, some shit you just don't need to fucking say, man and women alike. Don't get on the internet telling us how you weren't initially attracted to your husband, or that you weren't initially attracted to your wife, or they wasn't the usual type that you go for. We don't fucking give a damn. Nobody cares about that shit. And if you do have that advice, like, you can say it in a way that says, look, looks isn't always the thing you should look after when you're looking for a partner. You can say that without telling the world that your partner, what you wasn't attracted to your partner or your wife or your husband. You don't have to say that shit. Sometimes y'all just need to shut the fuck up.
Do you think that that's why men cheat sometimes?
No. What the hell?
So
what are you talking about?
Okay, so let me finish. Right, I know that's just flavor that. Do you think that not all men, because we know all men don't cheat, because black men don't cheat. But we're talking about the few. Listen, we're talking about them other men who be cheating. Do you think that it's because they desire, like, that the chick they desire is that side chick? You understand what I'm saying? And maybe she can't give you the wifely things, but that don't take away from the desire. I'm asking. I don't know, because I'm not a man.
No, it's a lack of intimacy. He doesn't get what he desires from the woman he with. So typically, it leads to cheating.
Okay.
There could be a multitude of reasons. There's so many different reasons.
Some motherfuckers cheat because they can.
Some people just like that, man. Some people just crave variety, right? Some people just beast out here, man. Like, it's a million reasons for the people who do that. And, contrary to popular belief, it's less than half of people who are reportedly doing that, right? It's not. And we're not talking about black.
There's research behind why a likelihood of it. The reason why it's happening. There's some research behind it. And if you're talking about relationships and marriage like that, it's largely because of lack of intimacy. But that doesn't take away from the fact that there's a multitude of reasons But if you have the rank the reasons, that would be probably in the top 2, top 3.